All right, you ready? 8 o'clock, baby. 8 o'clock. I start on time. All right, good morning. It is now 8 o'clock. We start right on the spot. Welcome to the Small Business Development Meeting. Chairman Chokas had some issues, had something to take care of in Washington, and welcome Vice Chairman Ray Martinez. Before we get started, I'm gonna ask our Representative Tarbin to lead us in prayer. Thank you.
I want to welcome my people here from my district.
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead.
And glad to have you guys with us. Glad to have all of you with us. And we got Ways and Means and Agriculture and a whip meeting this morning. So maybe there'll be some more people come in, and appreciate you guys being here. Heavenly Father, we ask your blessing upon us this morning, and that as we enter into business for the state of Georgia, we'll always look to you for guidance. For it's in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Well, thanks again for being here, and we're going to get started with, and I think we got 5 presenters, I believe, that are here. So we'll, how about 10 minutes apiece? How's that sound? That sounds fair? And we'll go from there. I see some heads going. All right, so we'll get started with Daniela Perry, Executive Director of Georgia Chamber of Foundation. Welcome. Thank you.
Well, good morning, members of the committee, and thanks again for the invitation to be with you. We so appreciate the ability to share a little bit about what we're focused on at the Georgia Chamber of Commerce in terms of small business growth, and excited that some of our members are able to join y'all this morning and share some of their insights and experiences. Just a few numbers, but 99.6% of all small businesses in Georgia are considered small, and they employ more than 1.7 people. Over the past 5 years, small businesses have created over 15,000 jobs and generated over $10 billion in sales in Georgia. Additionally, 87.8% of Georgia exporters are small businesses as well, so we really are thinking about a full scope of everything that small businesses are faced with, and making sure products are able to be received all across the globe. 96% of Georgia small businesses said that they have faced financial challenges in the last year, specifically due to increased costs of goods and services. And almost half of small businesses in Georgia report that licensing barriers are condensing their available talent pool. So those are just some high-level takeaways. We at the Georgia Chamber are certainly focused on continuing to enhance our business climate to grow small businesses in the state and support entrepreneurship and innovation. If we can ever be a resource, please feel free to let us know. And then I would love to turn it over to Daryl Rochester to begin testimony.
I'm Daryl Rochester. Our firm is Rochester DCCM, which is located up in Gainesville. We actually have 5 offices in Georgia. We have an office in Gainesville, an office in Fayetteville, Sandy Springs, Cartersville, and Athens. I wanted to share with you this morning, and our business is a civil engineering land surveying business, so kind of help you with that. We work a lot with land developers, government agencies doing roads, water, sewer systems, private development type stuff as well. So that kind of gives you a bigger picture of what we do. Many of our clients are in a situation where they deal with environmental laws, environmental issues that come and become problematic for them, in that there's always somebody looking over their shoulder. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? I mean, that's why we have governmental agencies to rule and watch over us to make sure we're doing things properly. Our job as registered professionals, as professional engineers, professional land surveyors, is to ensure that we're protecting the public as well. So our job is to continue to watch that in addition. Where we've run into a real problem over the past several years has been related to tort issues with legal issues. It is probably what I would consider behind a labor shortage, which we all are dealing with, right? And I'll talk on that in a few minutes. But beyond that, our big issue has been dealing with legal issues, which are problematic. They take a lot of their time stealers. We found ourselves, what happens quite often is someone doesn't like, have you heard of NIMBYs? So NIMBY is a not in my backyard, people who don't like anything going on around them, period. And so they're against any new development, anything like that. So that becomes the people who are usually out looking for a reason to cause a problem or to stop a project. So what we've discovered is these groups will go out and actually try to stop a development by suing the developer or the agency in some cases. They'll try to sue whatever the local agency is. We have discovered that now what happens, and this has happened over a period of years, we get drug in as a consultant to the developer as a third-party defendant. Okay, so what happens is I'm basically getting drawn into the net with everyone else, and what we're discovering is there may be no legitimacy to the case at all, but they're trying to get it resolved, the matter resolved, by getting insurance companies to settle up on this. So they use it as I'll call it a cash cow to be able to get away to get some. So most recently, over the past 5 years, our firm has spent, and we're a small business, so our firm has spent $200,000 over the past 5 years out of our own pocket in legal fees and in just our labor that has been expended at dealing with these issues. And that is with us finding no fault on us at all. What happens is these cases get settled out of court. In almost every case, the insurance companies want to settle it. They don't want to go to court and try it, so they'll go ahead and agree to settle it. But we get on the hook, so we're on the hook in some cases for $50,000 or $100,000 to meet our deductible for our insurance. Now, for a small business, that's a big number, and we have to. That's the limits that the insurance companies require that we carry in order to be able to provide even just $1 million worth of insurance coverage. So most recently, we had a case where a private developer was being sued. There was virtually nothing wrong. In fact, the Environmental Protection Division came out and inspected the site twice for a sediment spill that was being claimed by the adjoining property or downstream property owner. Twice they came back and said that we find no fault on the developer or the development whatsoever. They sued anyway, ended up getting a $1.3 million settlement, of which our small firm was on the hook and ended up having to pay $600,000 to get the issue settled. Now, fortunately, we have insurance, but 57,000 of that came directly out of our pockets, and the rest was come out from insurance. And of course, you know how that works, right? The premiums now will go up, and we'll be paying more in premiums going forward. So the governor has now dropped the tort reform bill. We're very much in support of that, and we think it's very important for our industry, especially for small businesses who can't afford to deal with these large legal matters, and we're really very supportive of that. So I want to encourage you to vote in favor of that. The other thing I want to share with you quickly, and I'll be brief from here, we are dealing with not only the implications of being drug into court and dealing with legal matters, but now we're seeing a dramatic increase in insurance costs. So just the property insurance for the building that we own has gone up 45% in 2 years, okay? And we've had no claims whatsoever. And so to deal with that is very problematic, on a small business trying to make the bills work. That is a real challenge. Our auto insurance has skyrocketed as well, and I'm sure you can appreciate that. And then the last thing that we deal with, and this is where it becomes very important, Daniela touched on it, with dealing with trying to get registered professionals into our profession. But becoming a registered engineer is not an easy task. It's a tough degree to get. And then getting registered is difficult, going through the licensing. So we're dealing with a pretty significant shortage of engineers. So I would encourage you in any way you can to help encourage any legislation that affects engineering, the engineering profession. Anything that deals with registrants is important. The registration piece is a very important part of the puzzle, but if we can smooth that out, it does make matters much better. And that's really what I had to share with you for today. We really appreciate what you guys do every day. I know that your job is difficult. You hear all kinds of stories from both sides, but we do appreciate everything that you do for us. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. We do have a couple questions, but before we do that, I have one simple question. You mentioned that in the last 2 years, your insurance has gone up 45%.
Yes, sir.
Why do you think that's the case?
Well, I think it's a combination of just property and casualty. The claims that are going on, the plaintiff attorneys are driving a lot of that cost because the insurance companies are having additional costs associated with dealing with litigation. And we think that's the slip and fall type things and other things that may be causing those type of issues. And then part of it too is just the property values have escalated, and because of that, that causes some of that inflation as well.
Okay. Thank you. We'll go to 19.
Okay, that's
Gabe,
me.
Gabe will call you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
I happen to be a registered engineer myself.
Congratulations.
So I understand what you're talking about, and I also served on the Planning Commission in Gwinnett County for a few years.
Very good.
My experience is that the NIMBY, not in my backyard, groups usually take it up with the county commission. And once that fight is settled, I mean, I've done a few developments. They've never come after me
That's good.
because I have my engineering company. I've had it since 1998. And knock on wood, I hope they don't adopt the style you have just described here. But I agree with you. We need to do something about not just training more engineers, but making it a little easier to get
Agreed.
registered.
Agreed.
That's more important. We have quite a few, but due to the process, I mean, I've given references to about 3 people, and each time they failed. So we need to find something. We need to do something about that. So thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. Is that it? No? All right. Well, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you for your time.
You bet. Thank you. Now we're going to Daryl Rochester.
That was me.
Oh, that was you. Okay. Dean Paul Hart. He's parked. All right. Let's go ahead with the
If that's okay.
next. Uh-huh.
Thank you. So my name is Jamal Starr, and I'm the founder and managing director of Starr and Associates Management Consulting. And it's an honor to be here with you all today, and thank you for taking the time to listen to a little bit about my firm and what our challenges are. So I will keep this brief. I don't think I have a full 10 minutes of content, but I'll tell you a little bit about us first, and then I will tell you about the challenges that we face, and I'll also, talk a little bit about how the wind's to our back in the sense of speaking, and by being headquartered here in Georgia as well. So it's not all bad. Starr & Associates is a full-service management consulting firm. We provide services in strategy, change management, data, and innovative technological solutions for Fortune 1000 clients and large-scale institutions. So in a nutshell, we work with large organizations to help them be a better version of themselves as they compete out in the marketplace. More efficient, more effective, better products, controlled cost structure. So we've been headquartered here in Georgia for 21 years now. So we're located just off of 26th and Peachtree in Buckhead. And so we've been a part of the Georgia business community now for some time, and it's been a very welcoming community that's afforded us some relationship with some very storied businesses and partners. The Cox Enterprises, who was homegrown here, Scientific Games, Southern Company, to name a few, who've been really good partners of ours and clients along the way. So we've also had the opportunity to work with some of the storied institutions that are located here in the general areas like the CDC and the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta. So we are designated as defined as an SBA small business. So we are still a relatively boutique firm. So roughly 25 associates. While small, we're growing. I can attest to some of the major headwinds that we face as a small business, a small but growing business. Number one is the competition for talent. So competing for talent, much of this is on our plate, but then there are some general concerns that I think fall more in line with what the macroeconomic environment and the legislative environment looks like here in the state. For one, we've found that there's a trend of in particular, young talent. They're graduating some of the finest institutions in the country that are here in the state, but they want to be affiliated with firms like ours. They want to provide the work, but cost of living and housing costs are exorbitantly high. And so we're finding that we've even had instances of some pretty impassioned new grads, coming, accepting the offer, and then relocating to another state while trying to hold on to the positions with us, in which much of the job is here in the state. So I'm sympathetic to that, obviously, coming into the professional world as a young professional. The other headwind, I would say, and I won't beat this horse to death, but Dale mentioned it, insurance costs. Insurance premiums here in the state of Georgia, there's a premium to the premiums, and much of that boils down to many of the costs that are taken on by insurance providers, and the litigious environment here in the state tends to cause a bit of a premium in the cost that we pay for insurance, although we've had no claims. We've seen a 20% increase over the last 2 years in our insurance premiums as well. So I will end, though, on a high note, I think, with Georgia has been the best location for us in terms of a headquarters that I think that we could ask for, despite the headwinds that we just talked about. The reality is it is still a destination for most folk, like professionals. People do want to be here despite the housing cost challenges. There's a thriving business economy, so there are plenty of partners for us and plenty of new engagements for us in that space. And there's a best-in-class airport that really provides us the opportunity not to just compete here in the state of Georgia, but also to travel to clients across the country and across the globe. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Yes, we do have a question. I do have a question. You mentioned that you got some young talent. What is your firm doing to keep that young talent here in Georgia, and especially in your company?
Absolutely. So we've had to be a little rigid in stipulating that they remain local in terms of where they live, but where we have demonstrated flexibility to them is in the work arrangement. So we try very desperately to promote a hybrid work arrangement. So our motto is we are very dedicated to our clients, and we provide a very high level of service. So, we're at the whim of our clients, but aside from that, as it's under the control of the firm, we try to provide the opportunity for remote work where it can be supported, where it aligns with the engagement. That's a big one for young talent. They appreciate that. And then, being really competitive with the salaries. I mean, I get it. I understand there is a high cost of living. You're a young professional. You're coming out of college, or you're early in your career. So it's important to provide, a competitive salary that allows them to live in a thriving state, and in particular the Atlanta metro area.
Okay, thank you. Representative Turbin?
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you for the presentation, and and we're all not picking on you in any way, but we all mention insurance companies, and of course they're small businesses too, and tort reform, we don't know what that would do, but we go through times here in Georgia the last few years where major car insurance brokers don't even want to sell car insurance in Georgia. And, in northwest Georgia, we're in a case where we can't even write a house unless we have a pre-inspection, which costs $500 or $700 because of fraudulent claims. So tort reform may help that some. When we hear stories of restaurants that their claims are 37 times in Georgia what they are in awards, Georgia, or 37 times in Georgia what they are in South Carolina, and 27 times more than that in Florida. We definitely need tort reform, and like, again, it's easy to pick on insurance companies, and I love to too also, but it's tort reform will go a long way, and I just hope we get that end of it with premises liability and those type things. Thank you.
Thank you for the comment, and absolutely, and just to be clear, we have clients that are insurance companies, and so I'm sympathetic to their plight for sure, but I think, legislation that helps to manage their costs would also pass on to us as end consumers.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Dean Paul, is he here? Dean Paul? Sir?
All right, good morning. I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I just want to set a groundwork first that traditional retail is struggling. We're a manufacturer of consumer goods here in Tucker, Georgia, 6 of our own brands, and when I think about the last 5 years of retailers like a Bed Bath Beyond, a Babies R Us, and a Bye Bye Baby closing, we've lost major centers of where we would normally connect, but that's created growth through online marketplaces such as Amazon and Walmart. And yet, there's a difference in doing business with them, right? It creates a complete need to be able to tell and to share a story that historically has not existed. When we sell at retail, we've got to be able to tell the story in 3 seconds, 5 seconds, that you see the product and you make a decision. But as soon as we move to online, we've got to be able to share that story through images, through video, through text, through copy. One of the examples I like to give is when you think about retail purchases, if you saw a woman walking into a Walmart, what does she want to buy? Well, we have no concept or clue, but we hope to reach her, right? But when she goes to Amazon and she types in pink pacifier holder, what does she want? A pink pacifier holder. And therefore, if we sell pacifier holders, our whole goal is to be on page 1 at the top of the search. That entails all kinds of different things that we're hearing discussed, whether it is revolutions in AI. If you go on Amazon, and so many people shop there, you'll notice there's a new tool called Rufus. And Rufus is your dog to go fetch and find the item that you need. So as a business, we're able to use Rufus to see what are people looking for and what questions are they asking as it relates to products, as well as how do we train Rufus so that it knows about our product, our brands, whatever it may be. Well, all of that to this end, there's a couple things that I find that you all can help with businesses like ours. The first being that we find that there's a lot of goods that are both made here in the States as well as imported. I think about what's happening right now with the discussion on de minimis shipments. And yet, when we bring in goods, whether from overseas or we make them here, there's still that delivery cost that ends up getting to the consumer. Now, one of the challenges that's happened in retail that I find very few have discussed since the de minimis came to the rise is that historically it took a foreign manufacturer working with a U.S. company to be able to get to a U.S. distributor or a U.S. retailer to get to the consumer. And what we've done is we've removed all of those pieces in between from logistics, packaging, marketing, sales, and allowed a manufacturer to get directly to the consumer. So one of the things I want to ask about is the opportunity to encourage, especially Georgia businesses that add labor or add to the cost of imports, beyond the things that we're a Georgia manufacturer as well. So we have things made here. My hope and belief has always been is that for someone to be able to pay, whether it's for housing, whether it's for food, whatever it is, they need a job. I remember calling on a major retailer years ago, and they said to me they wanted 2 of an item that we had for a very low cost, and I said we couldn't do it. And they said, why? I said, well, we make it here in the States. And they said, well, you picked the wrong country to make product. And I thought, well, it's a horrible spiral when we need lower cost goods because people are out of work. And the less people that work will mean we need lower cost goods, and we keep going. Part of what we do, and what I think there are others that do, is rather than bringing in packaged goods, we bring in bulk materials so that our team is able to both assemble, package, and distribute so that there is work to be able to do. So how is there a way to support Georgia businesses that are adding labor and showing and connecting people to the workforce? The second thing is that being able to tell a story online is completely different and unique than what is currently being trained. I've had an opportunity to speak to a couple of the technical colleges, and I asked them with regards to online marketplaces what training is taking place. And what you'll find is in many cases they're working on SEO, on Google, and on email, which is really about 3 to 4 years old. I think about the time that I did 2 different master's degrees. The difference in an undergraduate to a master's program is instead of being taught out of textbooks, you're being taught out of new and relevant details. And many times people will worry about students and young people being on their phone, and yet they're creating ability that we're not yet tapping into. We need people that know how to take images, and the iPhone or whatever phones have become incredible cameras. We need people that are able to put together videos, people that are able to say something in a short way. That's what they do in text, and we wonder, how does that even work? Well, we need short copy that people are able to connect and receive. So I'd love to see technical colleges and training get to a level where we're actively promoting what is growing within the industry. Right now, for us to go find people for marketing, for copy, for image, for videos, for a number of these things, we're looking and having to find people overseas, whether in the Philippines or Pakistan, because they're getting the cutting edge to date training that is not yet existing here. So supporting Georgia businesses that are adding labor into what is being sold, supporting the education system so that there is training. And the last thing I want to say that I really appreciate in the state of Georgia is beyond the fact that we've got a great airport, we've got great transportation from UPS being headquartered here, and we can get product anywhere. Up to the other day, it was 2:30 in the morning and I was down at the Palmetto USPS facility just so we could hit deadlines to make sure deliveries take place, is just a need for continued growth around what's happening in the segment. We're grateful for the community in Clarkston. We moved out of the Avondale Estates Decatur region to move to Tucker in 2016, and we've connected with staffing agencies like Amplio, as well as great people that are refugees out of the Clarkston community that have been with us and grown with us. And we believe you can love and care for people, and you can work together. We spend more time with the people at our jobs often than we do with the people at our homes. Unfortunately. And yet there's this opportunity to be able to care and to invest locally and to strengthen the community. So thanks for the opportunity. I'm open to any questions you may have.
Yes, I do have a question. It seems like from hearing from your testimony, it seems like the old the old type of marketing where little piece of paper, sale 99 cents is over. It seems like the new type is what you're saying.
Sure.
And how can we get, what would be your idea to get technical colleges or even schools to start teaching this type of, to our students versus going to Pakistan or some other country to recruit these students? Because you're right, that's a new way of buying stuff right now through this phone.
Absolutely, and everybody is active, and more people are connected and buying on their phone than ever before. The training exists, it's already out there. There's a company right now that offers training to understand the whole landscape of Amazon that for less than $100 in a month you could go through the training. It just hasn't reached into the colleges and places. And then sometimes we think about people that are saying, well, I'm not sure I want to be at work. The reality is this work isn't a 9 to 5. It looks completely different. You're able to accomplish it wherever you are. I mean, if I needed to, I could set up shop in the back of this room and really conduct all of my business on the phone as needed to get quite a number of things done. And while it gives the breadth of the whole industry of what it means to sell on an online marketplace, what we also need to help students understand, and people really that want to go into the field, is you don't have to do everything. There is a slice that you can cut out that all of a sudden Georgia can grow as a place where online marketplaces come and grow and are fed. Because the reality is that products continue to move. And with the shift, if the de minimis law goes through, there's going to be a shift to more items coming here as opposed to directly overseas, because the added coverage of clearing, customs, duties, all of that is going to eliminate a lot of those cheap $10 shipments that are arriving at the doorstep.
All right. Thank you. We'll go to 18, Representative Schofield.
Yes, thank you so much for bringing it to our attention.
Certainly.
This is something I've been hearing from the young people a long time. And I just really personally want to thank you because I had no idea what Rufus was. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
We'll go to 29, Representative Tarvin.
And very, very quickly, and I don't want to put they can hear me anyway. Put the presenters on the spot, and I don't, we don't know what all your businesses are, and it may not be important, but it's important to us to know what hinders your business. And I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but how important would tort reform be to the people in this room thinking it has an effect on? Is it toward the top of the problems you see with growth in your future, or if you don't mind, by show of hands, is tort reform or the kind of claims you get due to tort misuse or whatever important to your company?
I would say for us in our business, it's interesting that we don't get many of those issues coming out of Georgia, but it's all around the state, all around the country, really.
But that, of course, it might affect your companies. But that's interesting. The companies you deal with,
Yes,
might affect. Thank y'all very much.
All right. We'll go to number 16, Representative Bazemore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate it. Good morning,
Good
and
morning.
thank you so much for your presentation. Quick question. You mentioned there's a company already that's educating individuals to do exactly what we need them to do here.
Sure.
What is that company, so that when we discuss with our technical colleges,
Sure.
we can make the suggestion and ask them to explore and/or utilize?
Yeah, there are a number of ones out there, but I would recommend and direct you to a company called Helium 10, HELIUM 10, 10.com, where they've got training that's called Freedom Ticket Training. It's a number of people that are looking, how can I start a business, and how can I really understand the details and the difficulties of what it means to distribute and sell online. Everything from finding a product to dealing with the legalities that go with the product, to the insurance, all the way to getting the product to the end consumer, dealing with returns, advertising, copy images, telling the story. It's a big deal, but it's an opportunity for someone to link in and say, hey, how can I help and get involved?
Okay. And you said, Mr. Chair, and you said the time frame to educate is what now?
Yeah, I've known of people. I have a marketing manager on staff that knew that the training was available. It's an 8-week course, and she did it in 3 weeks.
Okay.
So it really is based on, it's all online training. What do you want to do?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Starr, for your presentation. Great.
You're welcome.
Very
Thank you. Shout out to Loganville as well.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to Brian Macon. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning. I'm Brian Macon, president of Dorset Industries, a manufacturer of automotive and marine carpet located in, surprise, surprise, Dalton, Georgia. Dorset is an employee-owned company that was founded by my partner in 1961. I've read the executive summary and tort reform legislation overview, and I support the governor's initiative. However, I view the reform as only a good beginning, but falls short of the tort reform that's needed in our state. I understand that the state of Georgia ranks #1 in the country for nuclear judgments and awards. We need limitations on punitive damages. By having caps on damages that fairly justifies proven damage, helps reduce and minimalizes frivolous lawsuits. our state needs varying limits on jury awards. On a personal note, I know the state of North Carolina has limits on judgments. A member of my family was damaged, and the malpractice judgment had limits, unfortunately. But I understand the need for those limits. The third-party litigation funding is the scariest, preying on vulnerable clients, extorting money due to the exorbitant costs of defense. Driving through the state of Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, the amount of billboards that bombards us is not a coincidence. We have a legal environment welcoming attorneys in our state and out of state to file lawsuits. We have a target on our backs, and they are shooting at us. And it's costing us in property and auto insurance, just to name a few. Our company's experience with workers' comp claims has shown that we need to be fairer to the employer. It is slanted to the claimant has a ability to be able to choose a primary doctor to send them to and to find one that gives them the right answer that they want or need. But if the employer specialist determines whether the injury is fraudulent or strongly disagrees with the employee's claim, the opinion is not admissible in settling the claim. The primary doctor of the claimant rules to the Georgia workman's comp laws. I've been told the state of Georgia, this is outside of tort, so excuse me, but a small note, I've been told that the state of Georgia has one employee to inspect and approve boilers, and they have one inspector for freight lifts. The backlog for the service is too long. I suggest that we look at having 2 employees for the state in both departments and reducing the lead time for the service needed. Communication to companies regarding regulations and services needs improvement. Dalton being located near the border of Tennessee, a state without income tax, Dalton and the employers compete with Tennessee's workforce and for their residency. I hope the work to reduce our state income tax will be successful. In general, I believe the state of Georgia is a regulation and compliant friendly state. But as always, we should challenge ourselves for continued improvement, and I thank you for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. How many employees does your company have?
Approximately 200.
200.
We became an ESOP company in 2015, so we are an employee-owned company through the ESOP.
And you mentioned tort reform. How would the new law, if it's passed, help your firm, your business? When
I viewed it, I looked at it as I simply stated, as just a good beginning. I look at it and say, how could you not, be in favor of that beginning? But again, it's just that, because we have bigger problems that allows these frivolous lawsuits to come in and basically extort us because we know the cost of the defense. Our small little company spent over $700,000 defending ourselves on an issue that we were not guilty or even part of. $700 and some thousand. And if you listen to what's getting ready to happen in North Georgia, if you turn on the TV and see what's getting ready to happen with out-of-state attorneys, in-state attorneys, to see what's going to hit us, that's going to be small to companies trying to defend themselves. So, yeah, it's important. And our property insurance as well. And by the way, we have our facilities are older and they haven't increased a great deal of value, but they're still going up at 25-30%. So it's not a matter of fact of just new buildings having a greater value. It's just a matter of fact that the insurance companies are having to charge us more for a lot of these issues that have been presented before.
You did mention something that I'm not aware of. What's going on and what's going to happen in Dalton, Georgia?
There's a future environmental, probably a class action suit.
Got it.
That's going to be taking place, and it's going to be affecting a lot of companies, a lot of people.
Okay. All right. 16, Representative Bazemore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, and thank you for your presentation. I just have a question and a comment. I understand that businesses, there are some bad actors that come after businesses, but my question to you, if there is a cap put on with the tort reform for injuries and things, how do you put a price on an individual's permanent and lifetime injury?
That's a good question. I don't have the answer, but the reference that I made in regards to North Carolina, they do have limits on certain injuries, et cetera. So what it does is it discourages one to pursue further, and they know what the cap is. So when they go to settle knowing that, okay, we'll give you this, but it's not going to be the full amount. But it discourages you from going to court to be able to get that little extra. So having limits on certain injuries and on death and things like that, let's say limits on slander. Where are the limits to that? Is it $150 million, or is it really $5 million or $10 million? So the fact that the juries anymore are just putting some of these exorbitant, what I call nuclear, $100 million judgments, out there, there's a cost to pay, and we're paying it. We're paying it.
Mr. Chair, follow up? Yes. Thank you. So this is kind of personal to me because I do have a permanent lifetime injury that affects me every day of my life. You might not be able to see it, but it's there. And so there was not enough money to even pay me or to put a cap on what I have to go through to deal with this injury every single day.
I'm sorry.
29, Representative Tarver.
How many more presenters do we have? Is that all, or
What's that?
it's all?
Yes, that's it.
I would like to add to the group as far as a business person over the years, and what I heard here today was, I too owned a textile company, not carpet, but in the fabric. We printed the fabric used in uniforms for military and all the digital camouflage you see in theater and the flame retardant and all those things. It was inherently flame retardant in the fiber. But in the Chattanooga area, we had the doctors would tell that we had the best health insurance in the Chattanooga area, which includes TVA and several other businesses like that. And we were self-insured for workers' comp for 3 years, self-insured for health insurance for 4. And we were 140 employees, which is almost unheard of. And it got so cost prohibitive that we couldn't do that anymore. And I've said all that to say, and I appreciate what Representative Brown, excuse me, Blazemore. She lost so much weight, I don't recognize her anymore, and she really looks good. And no, that's I apologize for that, Ms. Representative Blazemore. I think we lose sight of the fact that, and I appreciate what she said, that it's not the injuries that where someone is actually hurt and have damages coming. It's the ones that there was no injury, and that's what we saw back then. And an example is when I was talking about home insurance. We're my son and daughter-in-law is they're in the insurance business. I have a license, but I don't participate in the business. And we can write a house in Tennessee because there's no fraudulent problems up there per se. There is, I'm sure, and we can't write one in Georgia. And cars are the same way. And it just shows you what the difference from state to state is. And I don't want anybody to think that I'm saying that someone that got injured on the job does not, or nobody else is, I don't think, should have some kind of compensation. It's the awards that are so high, and the people who sue who there's nothing wrong with, and that's what's driven up the. And I don't know the answer, and these people probably don't either. But I just want to make that statement because Dalton, who I represent part of, was probably the last manufacturing mecca in the United States, and they've continued to change and went from the carpet capital to the floor covering capital, and now we've gotten into electric batteries and so forth. And I apologize for taking so much time, but this is very important. We're fixing to be faced with something, and I say this sincerely. We're fixing to go through something that we end up, and this may be an oxymoron. We're almost going to be suing ourselves, and what's fixing to happen. And if the person who manufactures something has done something, they should be held responsible. But if you had a cereal company make a cereal, breakfast cereal, that gave you some kind of stomach cancer, you would not sue Publix. You would sue who that person was that manufactured the cereal itself. And we just need to take a long look at what we're doing to be the number one state and continue to be the number one state in Georgia. And I apologize for taking so long, but it's very passionate to me, and I'm not in any kind of business except trying to help people in the state of Georgia. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Representative Tarvin. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
It seems like tort reform is a common theme here. I do one last, and I just need a number if you got it, Ms. Danielle. You mentioned 99% of businesses are small business here in the state of Georgia. How many of those small businesses were lost during COVID? Do you have a number?
I can follow up with you on that one. We do have some metrics on how businesses were impacted, so I can follow up with you on that.
Please do. All right. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you so much for being here. And the meeting has been adjourned. Thank you.